We've been talking about all of the options with monetization. We've seen how you can design in-game ad placements. We've talked about how you can work with communities and brands, all again to get more mileage out of what you have. And that's what our next discussion is also about. I'm excited that we'll be hearing how to balance your game's monetization mix for greater retention, because that's what it's all about. It's one thing to get people in, it's another to keep them there. That's really the prize. And that's why we have two people here speaking from Facebook Audience Network. We have Manuel Ribeiro, publisher development manager at Facebook Audience Network. Welcome, Antonio. And we also have with you, we have Yuthida.
Yes, so we're both here because of the
Mm-hmm.
background screen. It's a bit funny. We're going to try because otherwise Yuthida is only partially visible.
Okay.
But we're not going to be on screen at the same time, so that's fine. We're going to do a
transition.
transition.
We're going to figure it out. Well, I'll let you and Yuthida take it away. And,
Thank you very much. Right. So thank you everyone for first of all taking the time and joining us today for this session. I hope everyone is well and is enjoying PGC so far. And so in this session, as a little bit as Peggy was saying, we're really going to try and give you a little bit more information about how to balance your monetization mix and include in-app ads and in-app purchases in your game. So we do know that finding the right combination can be quite challenging. And obviously there's not a one solution fits all and depends on various factors related to your game. But hopefully after today and after this session, we will provide you with a few more insights on how to achieve this. So, but first, just a quick intro. My name is Antonio Ribeiro. I am a strategic partner manager for the Facebook Audience Network team in EMEA. And also with me here today, she's not visible at the moment, but she's here. She's going to join us. Is my colleague Yuthida, and she's going to lead the last section of the session today. Right. So today we really want to explore and do a bit of a deep dive in these four main questions. Why should we consider a mix of in-app advertising and in-app purchases? How to estimate the potential advertising revenue in your game? What results are publishers and some of Facebook Audience Network partners around the world seeing in different types of games after integrating ads? And lastly, but also very important, how can Facebook Audience Network help you, a developer or a game studio, in integrate ads and in this journey? So let's maybe take a step back and start on why it's important to balance your monetization mix. So there's a lot of evidence showing that game publishers today are driving higher retention and profitability when they achieve the right combination of IAP and IAA in-app ads in their games. We know that a balanced in-game economy is a crucial aspect that takes time, takes effort, but when done successfully can have a major positive impact in your business and without detracting from the player experience. So you keep your players happy and engaged, as we all believe they should be. If you only target the small percentage of the population of your players and users, that accounts for a very small percentage of your total users, the ones that are engaging in mobile gaming sales. So you are missing out on incremental revenue. So if so far you've leaned in and done exclusively in-app purchases to reach your current phase of growth, perhaps it's time to consider exploring in-app ads. And on the other hand, if you've been relying just on ads and the ad monetization model, perhaps it's time to consider in-app purchases as well, as we believe that the combination of the two is the best solution for every game. So even after all the headlines and the changes of the past year, what is the current state of the industry? So according to the IDC, which is the International Data Corporation, mobile gaming advertising revenue paid to publishers and developers is still growing at a very healthy expansion rate of over 17% growth year over year. And even considering the iOS changes in 2021, which we've all kind of obsessed over the past year or 2 years even, But even with all that, the IDC still predicts that worldwide mobile in-game revenue for publishers to hit almost 44 billion in 2022 versus the 32 billion achieved in 2020. And so the industry is healthy and growing, we know that. But in terms of ads, which is what we're discussing here today, we also know that, and there's plenty of research that has shown that players are increasingly more receptive to in-game ads. We know that in perhaps the hyper-casual, casual, and social casino, game players have been traditionally more exposed to ads. So even in the early days, it was always a more common form of monetization in those types of games. But I think what's really interesting and kind of really moving the industry forward is that due to the rise of, in particular, opt-in formats, such as rewarded video, which is the best example, player perception towards ads is more favorable than ever. And we're starting to see now several hardcore and mid-core mobile games actively adopting this ad format with great success, not only in terms of revenue, but also in terms of player satisfaction. And data shows this. So we know that according to another study from the IDC, that over 70% of, let's call them hardcore gamers, I don't like that term, but it is what it is. But yeah, they are either like, or at least are receptive or don't have a negative perception to the rewarded video ad experience. Because it's opt-in, if they enjoy it, they can engage with it. If they don't, they can simply ignore it and play the game without engaging with it. And so all this to say that in reality, when ad integrations are done well, and this is a big caveat because we have all seen ad integrations that unfortunately are not done well, but when they're done well and well planned, and players do recognize this. And we know that this can lead to a very positive and in some cases even enjoyable experience within the game. And so having said all this, it all sounds very great and easy, but we do understand that the process of implementing ads in a game, especially for the first time, can be quite daunting, and you are likely, and the studios and everyone in your team are likely to have several concerns. And one of the most frequent questions we get is, will ads have a negative impact on player retention? And of course, there's no universal answer to this. It may have, but test data suggests that again, when done well, it does not. It does not have an impact on player retention. So there was a study from App Annie that showed that an increase in the number of daily active users and an increase in also the session times in the 3 months after games installed an ad SDK. So in short, the player time increased in games after integrating ads. We also see that these results, even though there was a bit of a variance between countries and regions, overall the increase in time spent was seen across all countries across the globe after the 3 months. And as you can see on the chart here in the kind of the lighter blue, which I think to me is even more significant, the biggest increase seen in total time spent was actually seen 3 months after the ad SDK installation, which to me means that the change that we saw after the first month was long-term and sustainable. So it wasn't just like a short-term effect, but actually the time spent actually increased after 3 months. And so that was about time spent. But what about probably the second most popular question, which is what about retention? Will ads impact retention? Again, it may have, but most likely no. If we look at that same study from App Annie, we find that worldwide, mobile games saw higher monthly active users and downloads after an ad SDK install. So in this study, I think one of the most interesting findings shows that mobile games that installed their first ad SDK in 2019 actually increased their numbers in monthly active users and downloads compared to the pre-install period. And again, there are some regional kind of variances, but we do see this trend of increase across different countries and regions. So time spent, retention, and now everyone likes money. So will ads actually lead to incremental revenue, or actually won't make much of a difference? So we know that a lot of publishers, and these are some of our partners working with Audience Network, but they're seeing like great success with hybrid monetization models because they see it as a way to diversify their revenue streams and earn incremental revenue. So I think most of us know that IAP is centered around a very small percentage of players. So there's obviously that varies from game to game, but most studies reveal that on average, fewer than 5% of players actually engage in in-app purchases. And so what this means, if your game is similar to this, is that there's a huge pool of players. Let's say if it's 5% engaging with IP, about 95% that in a sense are not being monetized. So, and it's this pool of 90% that really translates to the what we call the incremental revenue opportunity that can really complement your current IAP strategy. And so to kind of going halfway through the session, I wanted just to recap what we think are the 4 main benefits of adopting a hybrid monetization model. So we just spoke about it. First of all, diversify your revenue streams. If you depend on about only 5, even 10% of your users to generate 100% of your revenue, because they are the ones that engage in IP, that can be a risky proposition. So with IAA, it does help you diversify your risk, and especially in countries where players typically don't engage with IAP. Time spent. So we've also seen that evidence that integrating ads into your game can also lead to an increase in time spent in your game and longer play sessions. The revenue opportunity. So if we've covered, there's if the ads integration is well planned, you can definitely avoid and plan to avoid IAP cannibalization, meaning that in-app ads revenue is incremental to your current revenue. And then enhancing the player experience. I think a lot of people forget about this because, oh, it's ads. But there's a lot of research that shows that in a particular rewarded video, that it can actually, in many cases, it can even improve the player experience. It can give your players access to new features or products that otherwise they would never be able to use, or even kind of help them overcome difficult or even more frustrating sections of the game and be able to progress and continue playing the game. So definitely there is evidence of this as well. And so we talked a little bit about the incremental ad revenue, but how do you go about calculating? You have your game is live. Where do you start and how much money could I potentially make from ads? So obviously this is an estimate, but this is the model we use. And this is what and kind of some of the metrics that we think when estimating average revenue from ads in a game. So we look at metrics such as the number of daily active users, the ad frequency that you're planning to integrate, and also other factors with the expected ad engagement rate, and then CPM values, which you can use and find. And there's certainly a lot of information available of benchmarks and typical values from CPMs for different net formats and even per country and region. So to kind of help you define this a little bit, what would it look like in practical terms? So the first metric we recommend looking at is how many unique players you have per day. So how many unique players actually open the game on average each day. And then starting with this number, you multiply this by both the number of ads per day that a player can have access to. So let's say in my case here, it's rewarded video and I choose 3 ads per day maximum, and also the expected ad engagement rate, which in the case of rewarded video translates into the, if you think about it, the percentage of players that will actually opt in to watch the rewarded video, which in my case, I am saying it's about 30%. And so with this resulting value, You can then multiply the CPM benchmarks for that ad format. Let's say I'm using a global average, in this case, $20. But what you can actually do is take this same analysis and do it by country or region. So you have the number of unique users in that country or region, and then use the CPMs or the average CPMs that historically are seen in those countries to give you more accurate. But to simplify, we did it globally. And in this particular case, with all the values that you can see on screen, it would turn out to be a potential ad revenue daily of $18,000. So, which is not bad. And then we can assume this is a start, and then from there you grow. But yeah, as an estimate, we think this is will put a smile on your face when you finish some of these numbers, hopefully. So with that revenue estimation out of the way, and to help you estimate the value of in-app ad revenue, then we need to talk a little bit and spend a little bit of time talking about how to determine the right monetization mix and strategy for your games. So as with most things in life, there is not a one glove fits all model that we say, oh, do this and work for all games. But instead, what we really recommend is think about your monetization strategy as results of your type of game, and also the player experience that your game provides. So you can see some examples here on the screen for casual, hardcore, and social casinos, and some of the recommendations we make. But yeah, as you can see, we would not recommend the same ad strategy and integration of ads and even formats, say for a hyper casual game, which we know may entail shorter, quick bursts of gameplay versus a hardcore game or mid-core, where players spend more time, typically longer play sessions. So in this case, we would actually recommend just the opt-in format, which is rewarded video. And while revenue is obviously a top of mind for everyone, it's not always everything. So we also want to ensure that whatever you do, that you do see the results, like we discussed in the beginning, of increasing player retention and improve lifetime value. So here are some examples of metrics and success stories from some of our partners that worked with us, not only to implement this, but also on different case studies. And you can see here, official numbers from a variety of publishers, such as Activision Blizzard or Product Madness, that there is evidence that there is an overall increase in sessions and time spent in the game and LTV when adopting a hybrid ads plus IAP monetization mix. And we're going to spend a little bit of time just covering some of these success stories. So we're going to start with an example of casual and hyper casual, highlighting a case study with a publisher called Sunday Toss, which is a Japanese-based casual games developer. So for those of you not familiar, as I said, they're a Japanese gaming company and publish a variety of original and licensed games, but focusing mostly on the sort of the casual experience. And here you can see a quote from one of their business directors stating the great result that integrating ads did help them increase their ARPDAU, the average revenue per daily active user, by 25%. But it wasn't that easy to get there. There's a story behind it. So for a very long time, Sunday Toss relied only on in-app purchases. And I'm sure that this will resonate and it's familiar to some of you. They faced the monetization team wanting to integrate ads, faced very strong internal resistance from other teams to integrating ads. And so how did they go about this? At the time, they were operating 15 games, and the main concerns from the developer team were that players would see ads and for other games and go and migrate to those games and not come back to the Sunday Toss game. And also that by giving out free items via rewarded video, it would have an impact and decrease the sales in app purchases. And so the process, what they decided to do was to choose one game. I think they chose one of their smaller games and integrated rewarded video ad unit into one game to test and prove results. So during the test, they monitored very closely, user retention, impact on revenue, and if indeed users were dropping off after seeing the ads or no, they were staying in the game. And what they saw surprised some of the team members, some of the more kind of reluctant ones, because they did see an increase in play sessions and they did start seeing the added revenue from ads. And so after seeing in this test example, a 25% increase in ARPDAU and a 22% increase in retention, they decided to integrate ads into all the other games in their portfolio. So definitely a success story. And now we're going to look at one of the publisher that most of you are likely familiar with, Activision Blizzard, and provide a little bit more details on their journey from very successful IAP exclusive games to a hybrid monetization in titles such as Candy Crush Saga, Call of Duty Mobile, and the fairly recent Crash Bandicoot game. And this one, I have to admit, is a bit close to my heart because Activision Blizzard is actually my client. I've been working with them for over 4 years now, from the very start of this journey of like, let's integrate the ad SDK towards where we are now in the mixed monetization. And this is an example of a publisher with a set of games that historically relied only on IAP, and they wanted to, there was a desire to monetize the pool of players that were not engaging with IAP, but crucially for them, and this was completely out of the question, any negative impact on IAP revenue or any negative player impact on the player experience would simply not be acceptable. And so they partnered with us. And in short, we tested. That's how I can summarize. We tested different ad formats. We tested different placements and rewards, different user segments, different types of integrations. And all along with these tests, we had a set of, we were tracking, we were monitoring, we were analyzing all the key metrics and results. And if at any stage these results were satisfactory, we would move on to the next stage and scale. And so the result after all these years is that they now have a very robust ad monetization integration. They use rewarded video that lives alongside their IP activity. And crucially for Activision and some of their studios like King, the overall reaction and engagement of their players with rewarded video is shown to be quite positive. They did a lot of their own research and have strong results that it does not detract from the game experience. And finally, we'll look at Product Madness, which is an example of how a social casino game also can find the right monetization mix for this kind of very specific vertical. So Product Madness is a London-based social casino developer, which again, familiar story, always relied on IAP purchases as their exclusive revenue stream for their titles. But again, there's also that desire, we want to explore ads monetization. But some voices within the company were again saying, will ads disrupt our already established IAP player base? So similar to some of the other stories, they decided to take one of their titles, implement rewarded video at certain points in the game where they had data that players were getting stuck or even frustrated and stopped playing the game. So with the rewarded video, suddenly players have a choice to whether to engage or not engage with the ad. But if they did engage with the rewarded video and they chose to watch the ad, they were awarded with initial coins that would keep them playing by giving them access to more slot spins. And so as a result of the testing in one of their games, 555 Gold, they saw very good results and they decided to implement ads across their other games. And some of the key results, they saw a 120% increase in ARPDAU in their game Heart of Vegas, an increase of 7% in overall slot spins in their game Cashman Casino, and overall across their portfolio, where they integrated the ads, a 2% lift in user retention. So I hope this was all useful. Now you're finally going to meet my colleague, Yuthida. I'm going to do a kind of smooth transition, who's going to take you through the next stages of the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Antonio. I was just wondering, because I was watching on social media, some requests to go back a couple screens, if you wouldn't mind.
Let me go back to the, yes, I know this is
I'm sorry, but we give people what they want.
Exactly.
And it's right after you have your estimate potential daily ad revenue, that table. And then you had like a little bit of a cheat sheet. around
Yes.
what fits with each different
This
genre.
one.
Yeah, that's a popular
Sure,
one. So
yeah.
I'm actually going to capture it myself now and share it on
Yes.
social media. Apparently a really popular one. And this is based on your research and experience. Is that correct?
That's correct, yes. And
Excellent.
just as an FYI, Yuthida is going to share later a QR code that takes you
Oh.
to some of these studies. So obviously this
Ah.
is a very nice summary, but there will be access
All
to
the
kind of,
quotations.
yeah, all the studies, and you have this information and
Excellent.
much more later. So yeah.
We love goodie bags at the end. Well, thank you,
Good.
Antonio.
No worries. I'm going to fast forward to where we were
Exactly.
and
Thank
do
you.
another type of smooth transition. So it's all this and this. Oh, there we are. This is it.
Here we
Yes.
are.
Once again, goodbye. And you do that.
Perfect.
Is it all good now? Okay, so thanks, Antonio. Hi, everyone. Okay, so at this point of the presentation, you should be understanding how a well-balanced monetization mix of in-app advertising and in-app purchases will benefit your business. So let's dig in how Facebook can help reach your goal. So Facebook Audience Network is an ad network that's designed with the experience in mind. First, we understand that user experience is key for the success of a game. And by putting the player first, we are building positive ad experience with high value ad formats. Then it is clear that you need a partner that can match with your audience while generating great performances. Here at Facebook, we benefit from our strong pool of advertisers who are bringing diverse demand, not only gaming, and we have a global reach. Now, you also want to be as efficient as possible when it comes to monetization, and by being 100% bidding ad network, Facebook helps you maximize yield with minimum resources. Lastly, we also share a lot of values with developers as we own several apps such as Facebook and Instagram. So we understand the importance to invest in security and privacy and ensure compliance with all initiatives. We also want to make sure that publisher has access to tools for safety such as block lists. When you bring all that together, you have an ecosystem where everyone gets to win. Your player have a seamless ad experience with quality ads, which offer users a variety of brand safety control. You, as an advertiser, you can reach your target audience and meet your objectives. Then our diversified demand increase competition on our platform, which means better return for you as a publisher. So we balance the need of people, advertisers, and publishers. We offer the two most important and successful ad format for gaming. So first, rewarded video, which offers players to watch a short video in exchange of a certain value. So most of the time, extra lives or free coins. And interstitial, which is a non-user initiative ad format that often appear between two levels or at the end of a milestone for the users. We also support banners and native. Facebook also delivers strong creative types such as playable, which is an interactive format that user can engage with. So now beyond monetization, what we are offering is a closed loop between monetization and user acquisition. As players engage with ads, you earn more, so you can spend more on ads to acquire new high-value users. Our detailed insight can allow you to prioritize where to reinvest into user acquisition efforts for your games. This all works together to help you achieve higher scale and reach in user acquisition on Facebook family of apps through players with a high lifetime value. So today we came here to discuss ways you could be more strategic when it comes to monetization. So we're almost at the end of this presentation, so let's sum up the key takeaway. First, an effective implementation of in-app ads can lead to upside alongside IAP. Then major developers have now adopted the strategy of balancing their IAA and IAP revenue, and they've seen great successes in user retention. So as we've seen on all these case studies that Antonio had shown. And lastly, there's definitely money on the table. The projected 44 billion revenue payout to publishers and developers is growing 17% year on year. And so now, how to move forward? Okay, so on that slide, you'll find a QR code that will lead you to all our documentation. So all the case study, everything that Antonio has explained just earlier. Don't worry, I'm going to stay a few minutes on that slide so you have time to take a screenshot or scan it now if you want. So you will have guides guides for in-app ad success factors per game category. We have also included more helpful tips on measuring the first-time impact of ads on your game and some additional A/B testing tips. So I'm just going to pause a few seconds to make sure you have time to take that QR code. Okay, so I hope you had time to save it. Otherwise, we can just stay on that screen after. We really appreciate your time with us today. Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoy PGC so far. Thank you.
Thank you as well. And thank you for keeping that screen up there for a while. I also had to grab it quickly. Excellent presentation. Thanks for sharing your research, and above all, some of those great rules of thumb from you and your colleague, Antonio. So we will
Still here, but not on camera, but thank you.
It's just-
Appreciate it.
Absolutely. And I should come back on
Thank you
screen.
for
I
having
feel like
us.
I'm the voice from some invisible voice here.
Yeah,
Here I am.
I'm everywhere.
No, it was a great talk. I'm doing some live tweeting, and I saw the response to that. So some thanks and some kudos out there from people who really appreciated understanding, making the match between the ad experience and the ad mix and the game. So great. And I know you're not taking questions, but you did leave us with a great goodie. We have our QR code, so it's almost as good as having Q&A, right?
Yes.
Thanks so much then. I'll let you
Thank
go.
you very
and we'll
much
be
for having
moving
us.
on. Absolutely.
you.
Thanks so much.